Health is Wealth with Dr. Mike is brought to you by Pizzaville, where you can enjoy the best gluten-free crust pizza the traditional Italian way, stone-baked. Customize your own gluten-free crust creation or choose one of our signature gourmet pizzas on an 11-inch gluten-free crust. Health is Wealth with Dr. Mike on 1059 The Region.
You're listening to 1059 The Region, and this is Health is Wealth with Dr. Mike Carrozza. I'm Tina Cortez. Good morning, Dr. Mike.
Oh, good morning, Tina.
Well, York Region is in the red zone. We've been there since Monday. We're also in the midst of flu season, but there is hope of a vaccine on the horizon. Are you feeling encouraged, even though the number of COVID cases is steadily increasing?
Yes, I feel very encouraged. Well, first off, I think we must all do our part, as we've been doing in the last little while, and just to keep us strong, keep our immune systems healthy, continue to eat healthy, especially as we move towards being more indoors, and, of course, remembering to wash our hands. I guess it's something to really keep in mind, because the hygiene part is probably the most important. But in reference to the vaccine, I think I read an article this week in the Toronto Star, and I thought it was really interesting about the Medicago sort of vaccine that's coming out in Canada. And what's happening is there's some huge leadway in this. And what we got to remember is, unfortunately, the U.S. is obviously a larger country with a tremendous amount of citizens. And in Canada, we only have about 37 million, and the government already locked down, I believe, 190 million vaccines. That's enough to give 4 doses to every single Canadian. So it does look very promising. It is a plant-derived vaccine, which is something that I'm liking. I'm liking the Canadian variants of the vaccine. And I think this is more of a nationalistic approach, because I think each country is going to be able to develop their own vaccine, and that's going to give rise to helping their own citizens. So although the vaccine looks promising, it's still some time away, since they still have to do a couple of phases in terms of phase 2 and phase 3. But it does look promising to get the vaccines, and especially in the old school methodology of how vaccines are administered in terms of the immune system. But I think it is promising, and it looks good. But I mean, we still have to do our part, Tina, right?
Absolutely, and it's so important to do our part. We have heard health officials talk about the vaccine, the possibility of a vaccine, whether it's from Pfizer or Moderna or other companies out there. But they have stressed that it is not a cure. It doesn't make you immune to COVID-19. So you still should be wearing a mask. You still should wash your hands. You should still try to practice social distancing. It does reduce your risk, which is encouraging. So I guess we should just take heart in that part of it, right?
Absolutely. And, from the CBC, when they came out with, a couple of weeks ago, they came out with a huge article that represented vitamin D deficiencies and how vitamin D is directly linked to obtaining COVID quicker, but it's also how easily your body can either fight it if it has enough vitamin D. So vitamin D is actually playing a tremendous role. And this is probably going to be really important right now, because we don't have a vaccine. Let's keep our immune system healthy. And just for our listeners, get your vitamin D checked. Get your levels checked now. Don't wait, because I did have quite a few patients in my office who had low vitamin D statuses. And this is something that right now it's actually important. You may have a gene. You may not be able to increase your vitamin D because of a genetic predisposition. However, you can change this by taking either an oral dose of vitamin D or an injection. So this is something that you can do. So please talk to your doctor, of course, but get your levels checked.
And how are those levels checked, Dr. Mike? Is it a blood test?
Well, they can be checked twice. They can do a blood test routinely. Unfortunately, it's not covered under OHIP, but it is $35. It's probably going to be the best $35 that you'll ever spend, because a lot of people are taking vitamin D, but they're either not taking enough of it or they're not taking the right form. So they think they're taking vitamin D, but it's not getting absorbed, or they need a little bit more. So that's why it's important to get your vitamin D checked, so you know the dosage in which you need to take moving forward. Let's say the average dosage usually people take for adults is about 1,000 IUs, but 1,000 IUs of vitamin D may not be enough for that individual if their levels are suboptimal. So getting it checked is instrumental at actually finding out if you're low and how to dose it. And I think that's the key. So it is a simple routine blood test. It could also be done via blood spot, so it's a finger prick. So those who don't like getting blood, you can actually just do a quick finger prick, and you can isolate and send. It's about 5-day turnaround time. So, I mean, it's easy. You can get it. Please get your vitamin D levels checked, so that way you can protect yourself against this cold and flu season.
And is vitamin D, is the deficiency primarily seen in adults, or can you see it in children as well?
First of all, everybody, you can see this in everybody. So everybody needs vitamin D. The most, obviously, the most common people that are deficient in vitamin D are actually the groups that are getting affected extremely by this virus, and that is the elderly population. And they're just, because they're more frail, obviously they don't get a lot of sunlight. Maybe they're in nursing homes. As we know, Tina, nursing homes are getting quite affected. And this is where the vitamin D, you know, I also read an article last week that spoke to the government, and in England is actually deploying vitamin D supplements to their entire elderly community. And I thought that was amazing. And I just love when people do this, because right now we don't have a vaccine. All we have is our immune system. So everything we can do based on the science, and we know the evidence is actually right in front of us saying that the people that actually get the worst of this are the ones who have low vitamin D statuses. So if we can just get this vitamin D up, it'll help the chance, and it'll help everybody.
After the break, how the sauna can help the detox process. This is Health is Wealth on 105.9 The Region. Stay with us.
Have a question for Dr. Mike? Call us at 416-335-1059. Tweet us at 1059 The Region, or email us at info@1059theregion.com. More with Dr. Mike and Health is Wealth when we come back.
It was a rainy day when Pizzaville realised that some big pizza conglomerates want to make the cheapest pizza. Some want to be the fastest. At Pizzaville, we want to make the best pizza, stone-baked, the traditional Italian way. It's what we strive for every day, to be the best, not the fastest or the cheapest. Oh, cue the announcer.
Pizzaville Stone-Baked Pizza. Fiercely Canadian. Authentically Italian.
Health is Wealth is back with Dr. Mike on 105.9 The Region.
You're listening to 105.9 The Region, and welcome back to Health is Wealth. I'm Tina Cortez, and over to Dr. Mike with today's guest.
Well, thank you, Tina. Joining us on Health is Wealth is Anna Maria Vetta. She's a sauna expert, and she's from Sauna Core. Thank you very much for coming back on the show, Anna Maria.
Thank you, Dr. Mike, for having me.
Well, we're really excited that you're back on the show, because we want to start talking about the immune system. We want to start talking about saunas, and of course we know about the Sauna Core story, because you did mention this in our previous segment, which is amazing, and we love that. And of course you're home to I mean, you started off in Woodbridge, and then I think you're located not too far in New York region. And we're really happy that Sauna Core is a part of this segment, because we're going to start talking about, and how timely is this, right, Anna? Because I think, you know, right now our immune system is probably the most important thing to us right now. So we need to sort of stimulate this. So we'll get right into it. I mean, you know, saunas have been around for, I believe, centuries. And basically we want to increase things like our white blood cells, because white blood cells are going to help us fight infection. White blood cells are very important. You want to mobilize this, because if you mobilize your white blood cells, this is where you can actually increase your chance of fighting. So maybe we'll start by the heat generated by the infrared sauna stimulates energy at this cellular level. Is that correct, Anna?
Absolutely. So it's fantastic that you just mentioned what better timing with everything going on in the world. And also we're entering flu season, right? So imperative to get our immune system stronger and increasing those white blood cells, which the saunas definitely helps doing that.
And when you have harmful substances that enter your body, white blood cells actually detect it. And this is how your immune system sort of controls it. So, you get an increase of these white blood cells, and this gets stimulated by the infrared saunas. And this can help the body, obviously, fight off things like illnesses. And, of course, you might get the little sniffles early on. And so the idea of losing the battle when your body's fighting, and this is when we get sick, this is when we actually get the flu, is when the white blood cells can't fend off for themselves. And this is when things like infections set in. This is when things like antibiotics are necessary, because your body just can't do it enough. So it's probably early, and it's best to practice this early so that we can get the proper, white blood cells to the site, and it can really do its job. And we talked earlier in the section, in the segment, we discussed about eating healthy and how lowering your immune system is not the best thing to do right now, and things like a sauna will actually help support the immune response. And so I just wanted to start off with an amazing quote, and I think you'll like this one as well. And is that Hippocrates, was a famous physician. He quoted, said, "Give me a fever and I can cure any disease." It's interesting because a lot of people don't understand this theory. I mean, fever is, so when you increase your body's temperature, this is actually how your body fights. So fevers help your body fight off infection and allow certain immune cells to work. So not to say that we want to induce fevers on everybody, but hyperthermia, so hyper means elevation, and then thermia means heat or exposure to the body at high temperatures, gives the body's ability to destroy viruses. And this is why we get fevers. This is why people, when they get infections, they get fevers. It's your body's way to protect, basically to melt these viruses and bacteria infections that come out so that your body can better prepare itself to fight. So it's the fighting chance. It's the one way your body needs to fight. Now, we're not saying that everybody needs a fever, but the idea of elevating temperatures in a very, very subtle way using things like infrared saunas is really healthy, and this is where the research is, right, Anna? This is where the data has been for many, I think thousands of years by increasing the body's temperature. Can you just add a little bit comment to that?
Yes, absolutely. So exactly that, Dr. Mike. The saunas artificially induce the body in a feverish state. That's the primary focus of any sauna, infrared, traditional, steam, to artificially induce the body so that the body is in a feverish state to trigger the immune system and respond effectively to all these ailments we're going to be exposed to. So the minute we get those sniffles from, common cold or flu, yes, let's get in the sauna, but a sauna on a daily or on a weekly basis will boost the immune system to possibly avoid that, right? But if we do get triggered with the flu or the common cold, it does exactly that. So that is one of the huge aspects of saunas for sure.
Yeah, we want to talk about, I guess, triggering the immune system is a key factor, because when you increase the body's temperature in this state, you want to trigger the immune system. But of course, triggering the immune system does not mean you want to overdo it to the immune system. When we talk about triggering the immune system, we basically want to deploy and set the body in a state so it's on guard. It's really how the body does its best jobs, by being on guard, versus if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, or and we'll get to the detoxification section next, but if you're drinking excessive alcohol during this holiday season, or you're consuming a lot of sugars, this is actually going to dampen your immune system. So we definitely want to do things in order to support the immune system, and what better way to do it than having a sauna or doing a sauna on a daily or on a weekly. And I think this is a wonderful way to do it. I mean, in terms of myself, this is something that I practice, and I would very much, I instruct a lot of my patients who have the saunas to use them, because a lot of them store boxes or store old clothing in there. It's like, no, get that sauna, crank it up. And if you don't have a sauna, what a great time to get one, because especially during the winter and the cold season. This is where we need to support our immune system the best. All right, let's get on to the detoxification, and I think this is probably one of the most critical, because one major benefit that saunas in general do is, that pretty much represent, is that they detox chemicals from your body. Now, we just mentioned holiday season, indulgence, toxicities. Now, different chemicals come in, whether it's sugar or toxins from the environment or pollution. This is one major effect that I think everybody can benefit from. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, the infrared sauna is allowing it to penetrate into the skin deeply, can give you further enhanced benefits to not only sweat, but now you're going to work bowel, urine, hair growth, total body detoxification, but sweat is absolutely one of the largest aspects.
And so when your body does not sweat enough, it holds on to these toxins. So some of our listeners out there are probably thinking, they say, that's me. So there are individuals who actually can work out and do not sweat at all. And these types of individuals, I always recommend sauna for them because they cannot sweat. And so if you do not sweat, if you're not a sweating type of individual, it's not such a bad thing. Obviously, you just save a lot of money on deodorant. But the point is that we need to facilitate the detoxification process. And sometimes a lot of individuals, and I see this very common, Anna, in my practice, is they need this little push. And a sauna is what does the trick, because if you're holding on to these potential toxins and you're working out for, let's say, half an hour and you're really not sweating a lot, these impurities need to get eliminated through the sweat because they come from the food you eat, the air you breathe, again, like we mentioned, and anything else pretty much that you consume. And in ensuring that your body properly eliminates these toxins efficiently is one of the best ways to stay healthy and to support one's immune system, because the toxins stay in you. Right, the toxins stay in you, and so maybe, Anna, you can tell our listeners as to the average time. You don't have to sit in a sauna for hours. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So it's interesting you're saying this about the detoxification through sweat. So I read an article that for whatever reason, genetically, men and women are built differently and they sweat differently. So women are finding it harder to sweat. So more imperative to get into a sauna. And in just 30 minutes in an infrared sauna, you can burn anywhere to 300 to 1,000 calories, which offsets roughly 10 to 33, 34 calories a minute. So according to JAMA, Journal of American Medical Association, they simply say that detoxification in a sauna will allow you to release toxic waste and calories anywhere from 300 to 1,000, where running a marathon in half an hour is only about 500. And so you're not strenuous on the body, you're sitting in a relaxed environment, and this is where people can get in and enjoy or meditate or read a book and still get benefits of detoxification.
So basically a 20-minute session in an infrared sauna or a traditional sauna allows your body to sort of flush out these impurities from the inside, right? And then your immune system has less work to do to fight it off, is basically the idea. So, and I love how you mentioned calories, because, this is a time where gyms are closed, people don't have a lot of things to do. It's very challenging to go, and it's getting cold outside, and what better thing to do than warm up in a nice sauna?
Absolutely, and saunas in the day were, how you had mentioned, putting boxes inside. They were large saunas. Being that we're a manufacturer, a Canadian manufacturer right in your backyard, the endless possibilities of design and size, and some are just plug into your wall outlet, very energy efficient. So wherever you have a space, large or small or intricate design, it can be accommodated.
Well, I love that. And then, in terms of the calories and burning fat, traditionally, this is something that a lot of people maybe understand, but it becomes a little bit more because, when toxins accumulate and they form, obviously, around the tissues, and this adipose tissue, aka things like cellulite or fat accumulation, we can definitely see a reduction in a lot of these, because this is actually what toxins consume. So how they build within the body. So you can enjoy a nice sauna, detoxify your body, rejuvenate your cells, and increase your immune system, and at the same time, you can actually get rid of fat cells, right?
Absolutely, and that's the huge benefit of detoxing through a sauna. The caloric weight is going to be fat cells as well, right? So this is going to be, as you just mentioned, rejuvenation, detoxification. Yes, let's remove those harmful toxins we're exposed to on a daily, but let's also allow it to work our calories, right? So I think it's definitely a total full body experience.
And really, since we're on the point, let's talk about the largest organ in the body, which is the skin. And it's interesting because the skin does a lot of work that maybe some of our listeners are not too aware of. So not only does it pull the toxins and allow you to evaporate it, it's very important for our listeners because let's say you might want to get a sauna, or this is something that you maybe are starting to do, maybe you have a sauna. It's very important, once your body detoxifies, it's very important immediately after the sauna, you shower. And maybe, Anna, you can just touch base on that as well.
Correct. So any sauna, for that matter, is absolutely right. One of our largest organs is our skin. So with your skin detoxing, it's allowing the pores to open. We do suggest that after your sauna session, even if it's not a full shower, a cool rinse, just to close up the pores so that they can replenish and soothe. But we do strongly suggest you have a cool shower after. And beforehand, sometimes people, again, mentioned earlier in our conversation, Dr. Mike, sometimes they're not sweaters, right? So now let's have a little bit of warm water exposure, a nice warm rinse before entering the sauna, or bringing a loofah scrub to help with, dead skin cells, to help further enhance the benefit of sweating in a sauna.
Excellent information and great advice. Anna Maria, thank you very much for coming on the show. We'll definitely have you back next week because we need to continue this because there's more information that we have to get our listeners. So before we end our segment this week, where can our listeners learn more about SaunaCore?
SaunaCore can be found on our website, saunacore.com. That's SaunaCore.com, or also on our social media sites, Twitter and Instagram. And calling us as well at 905-857-8085. We do have a showroom open 6 days a week.
That's great. Thank you for joining us, Anna Maria. And Dr. Mike, just before we wrap up the show, if our listeners want to connect with you directly, how can they do that?
Well, they can reach us online at applemed.ca, or they can call us at 905-303-4622. We're here for you. They can see us on Instagram at AppleMed Clinic. For all our patients out there, thank you for listening to us and supporting our show. And of course, thank you for our guests. And everybody stay healthy and be well.
That's it for us. Previous episodes of Health is Wealth on 1059theregion.com. Thanks for listening.
Connect with us on Twitter at 1059theregion or call 416-335-1059 or email info@1059theregion.com. This is 1059 The Region. Health is Wealth is brought to you by AppleMed Clinic, located at 3560 Rutherford Road, Unit 45. AppleMed takes a results-driven approach to patient care. Remember, an AppleMed day keeps illness away.